Welcome back to Legal Luminaries, brought to you by the American Association for Paralegal Education. In Episode 4, we explore the evolving landscape of legal staffing and career development, with a focus on how educators can prepare future paralegals for success. We'll discuss essential skills for today's legal market, the impact of emerging technologies, and strategies for enhancing paralegal education. Our conversation offers valuable insights on bridging the gap between classroom learning and industry demands. Join us as we uncover ways to innovate paralegal programs and equip students with the tools they need to thrive in their careers. This is Legal Luminaries. Welcome to episode number 4.
Welcome back. We are excited for today's interview. AFP's podcast, Legal Luminaries, shines a spotlight on the insights, trends, and voices shaping the future of the paralegal education and legal profession. Legal Luminaries is designed to connect you with thought leaders, innovators, trailblazers in the legal field. With me today is my co-host and fellow paralegal educator, Kelly Radmathy. Our guest today is Sherry Estrin, CEO of Estrin Legal Staffing. Sherry is an accomplished legal professional, known for her expertise in legal staffing, training, and education. And she has held executive positions in law firms, litigation support companies, and has even led staffing divisions of major corporations.
I love this. Sherry is also a prolific writer, speaker, and thought leader. She's the author of 10 books on legal careers and a founder of a Paralegal Knowledge Institute. Her blog, The Estrin Report, is a must-read for anyone in the legal profession. And recently, she wrote a compelling article entitled, "You're Calling Me a What?", which discusses the discriminatory impact of the term non-lawyer within the legal profession.
Yes, and we'll also discuss Sherry's insights on how legal professionals can thrive in their careers, the essential skills needed in today's market, and the role of continuous education and technology in the legal profession. This episode is packed with valuable advice for legal professionals and educators aiming to improve workforce readiness. So without further ado, let's welcome Sherry Estrin to AFP's Legal Luminaries.
Thank you. What a nice welcome.
Thanks, Sherry. So let's dive in. For our audience members who have not had a chance to read your blog post on the term non-lawyer, would you please share a bit about it? From what I could gather in reading that blog post, it seems like you were trying to get to the heart of education of law students and maybe new lawyers and how they might benefit from learning how to utilize paralegal services better. What are your thoughts on that?
No, that's not it at all. I'm sorry, but that's not it at all. What my beef is calling paralegals, legal professionals, non-anything, and I think it's insulting, and I think it's degrading, and I think it's got to change. And the biggest proponent of calling anybody a non-lawyer is the ABA. And I think that has to change. And the reason that has to change is you can't call anyone a non anything and show you have respect for them. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. You're not going to call a nurse a non-doctor. You're not going to call a teacher a non-principal. And for heaven's sakes, you are not going to call an associate a non-partner. See how far you get with that. So my beef is that this whole thing has to change. It has to change because legal professionals since day one have been striving for respect. Calling them a non-something is not showing respect. What it is emphasizing what they are not instead of what they are. And I think that we have to take a look at how titles have changed over the years. And what you have is, let's take the legal secretary. We started out as a legal secretary, generally was a woman of a certain age, okay? And then technology came in. Technology changed and billing practices changed. And law firms wanted to bill for some of the things that the legal secretaries did, i.e. paralegal duties. So they changed the name to legal assistant. Fast forward maybe 20 years, 15 years, something like that. And technology again changed, and the structure of the law firm changed. So, what happened was we could no longer call them legal assistants, so we started calling them legal support specialists. So, as you can see, there was a progression. Then, in the beginning, maybe 1970, far before when you guys were born, okay, there was a, let's call it a syndrome, okay, and we called paralegals legal assistants, and the two were interchangeable. Now, what we had to do, because of the education of paralegals, we had to decide on one name. And since the legal secretaries already went through legal assistants, we changed, or the ABA adopted only one term, and that was paralegal. So we became a paralegal. But we're not calling a secretary a non paralegal, are we? No, we're not. Okay. So there's been some pushback on this. And the pushback, which is very interesting to me, is that some people say, well, the public won't know if you don't call them a non lawyer. I don't think the public's that stupid, frankly. Okay, I just don't think the public is that stupid. They ran with us during the change of legal secretaries to legal assistants to legal support specialists, and they'll run with us, okay, for getting rid of the word non lawyer. That's how I see that topic. Now, how we train associates, okay, which is a totally different topic. We will train them to say legal professionals, or we will train them to say paralegal. But most importantly is that, like anybody else coming out of school, you don't know a whole lot. You really don't until you get your boots on the ground, as they say. Okay, so what I think that needs to happen is just as law schools need to teach lawyers about business. Okay, they really don't know a lot about running a law firm, about being a big business, about what dollars revenue means. They can't read a profit and loss statement. I think that what we need to do very briefly is to bring in the paralegal educators and teach the fourth year law students how to utilize a paralegal. So when they first get out of school, they're going to hit the ground running, because very, very few firms these days do not have a paralegal. So why would you handicap somebody? I mean, the paralegal is one of your biggest tools that you have in your your blossoming law career. Okay, so I think that what we need to do is train the law students on how to utilize um, paralegals. It's the same thing as years ago, Apple Computer. What they did was, when computers first came out, and of course I wasn't there, I'm not that old, but when computers first came out, what they did was they gave Apple computers to every school. They put them in every grammar school that they could possibly put them in. Why? Because they were training the children to be able to use their product. Okay, not just the computer, but their product when they got out of school. And that's one of the ways that Apple succeeded, and that's one of the ways why they're so big today and so well known and so well loved. Okay, so why wouldn't we do that with a paralegal and a law student? Why wouldn't we do that? Train them from the very beginning. Then what you're going to do is you're going to eliminate this problem of, I see over and over and over again, underutilization of paralegals. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
You know, Sherry, I love those insights and the history lessons a little bit. We just learned some things there. So thank you for that. So I also love how you stated what we are. We need to emphasize what we are as opposed to what we are not. And just for a little context, our last episode of Legal Luminaries, we focused on the proper utilization of paralegal services. And we talked about ways that paralegals are underutilized, as well as strategies for paralegal educators to improve our students' experiences and then obviously their skills development. So, given your extensive expertise in the legal staffing and educational side of things, what are some of the trends that you've observed in the legal job market, particularly for paralegals and other legal professionals?
Paralegals coming out of school don't know enough. They just don't know enough. And I understand the dollars that schools are limited to. I get that. I understand nonprofits. I get that. But there's a different way that you can train an entry level paralegal to be more suited for the job at hand. And that is what we're going to have to do is train them in the skills, the more practical skills. Yes, they need to learn how to research. Yes, they need how to learn how to draft, but the majority of the paralegals are not doing that. Okay? The majority of the paralegals are organizing documents, they're filling out forms, they are doing a whole host of things that has nothing to do with the real research, which law firms want the first year associates to do, not the paralegals. Okay. And also, they can drive more revenue that way. Let's not forget that. Okay. So I think that the whole new way of doing things and a whole new way of training has to come about. Um, there's a way of teaching. There's a way of teaching lawyers in the law firm how to better utilize paralegals. And one of the techniques that I have used when I was a paralegal administrator was I would track the master calendar. And when I tracked the master calendar, I would see, for example, there was a deposition in Wines, and Coffee, let's say, okay, and it was coming up on the 3rd. And so what I would do was I would send a memo to the attorney and I would say, I see there's a deposition. According to the master calendar, there's a deposition coming up on June 3rd in Wines, and Coffee. Would you like me to summarize that deposition? Yes, I would like you to summarize that deposition. The deposition is summarized. I shoot another memo. Would you like me to prepare a summary of testimony inconsistencies? Oh, didn't know paralegals could do that. Yes, of course. I would love to do that. Prepare the testimony of the inconsistencies. Would you like me? I see a motion has got to come up. Would you like me to draft a motion on such and such? So what you're doing is you're training the attorney in the law firm how to utilize paralegals, because so often what I hear is it's a dressing down. And what happens is paralegal administrators or a paralegal will come in and say, how come you don't use me for this? I didn't know you could do that. Do you want me to do that? No, I don't want you to do that. Okay. Why? Because they don't want you to take the time. They don't want to, they feel that they're going to be losing billable hours. So there's a way that the entry level paralegal can train the attorney in the law firm how to utilize them. And I think that's a much better approach than, well, what we do is we send out the use and abuse memo. Okay. And the use and abuse memo it comes from the paralegal, the senior paralegal, and it goes to the attorneys and they say, here is how you can utilize paralegals. And they do a list. What happens with that list? Well, it's deleted. Okay. Or they used to say it went in the trash can, but now we delete it. And so there are different ways that you can start to build your career and start to build um, your skill level. Okay. And how do we do this? You have to teach it in the schools. When you get out into the law firm, this is how you train your law firm how to utilize you. And so by doing that, training the students how to help themselves, what you're going to do is you're going to up the value, you're going to up the utilization, and paralegals are going to find that their career just starts to inch up. Okay, because a lot of people think, they mistakenly think that once a paralegal, always a paralegal. There's no moving up the ladder. There's no ladder. And these poor students, they come out and they find out they're not going to make partner. Okay, all of a sudden they're not that. What? I'm not going to make partner. Okay, so what we have to do is start in the schools. That's what we have to do and train. It's not training the trainer. It's training the student how to behave or how to move themselves up in the law firm, because the law firm is not going to do it for you. They're not going to do it. They don't have the time. They don't have the inclination, and they don't want to lose the revenue, which means that the lawyer would have to take their time, not billing, in order to train the paralegal. That's how I see it.
Those are, again, as Kelly said earlier, you have such great insight because you came from inside the law firm and you've now evolved into this legal recruiting expert, right? The way I describe you to my students, Sherry, because I often refer them to your webinars because I think they're just great. I myself, even after 20 years, I still attend your webinars. I think they're fantastic because they do build that skill set and resource for professional development and professionalism. And I know that when we talked before, as we were getting ready for today, and you and I have known each other for some time.
Oh my God, we're not so. In fact, I'm no longer saying how long we've known each other. I'm just going to say I'm a woman of a certain age. Okay, and I'm a woman of a certain age, and I've known you for a long time. That's how I'm going to refer to myself.
Yes, exactly, Sherry. And as you know, here at AFP, right, our primary audience is composed of paralegal educators, but also program directors. And what you were saying about building the students, edifying them, and helping them to understand how to exist within whatever legal ecosystem, law firm, in-house legal, corporate department, whatever, right? But when we were talking, I really honed in, and I love your phrasing on this. And you said hopes, dreams, and desires.
No, it's hopes, wants, dreams, and desires. That's what we want to give you. We want to give you the hopes, wants, dreams, and desires. Why? Because we don't want you crying in the shower every morning. We want you to get up and love it. And what some people overlook because they're in the community is that paralegals are above average in intelligence. When you take somebody who's above average in intelligence and you give them routine and repetitious assignments, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to that above average intelligent person? They're going to get bored, they're going to burn out, and they're going to leave the field. That's not what we want. Okay? That's not what we want. So we have to come at this differently than we've been doing. And a lot of people just don't know what to do. That's okay. That's okay. But we cannot continue the way we're doing it now. We cannot.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. But I'm wondering, as paralegal educators, program directors, what is that connection? Meaning, what are those core competencies, those essential skills and qualifications that you think paralegals must have, non-negotiables, to thrive in today's legal market? And how can we, as educators, paralegal program directors, how do we integrate that into our programs, our content, our curriculum?
Okay, what's happening today is you read everywhere. You read in Time Magazine, you read in the Wall Street Journal, you read everywhere that corporations are hiring on soft skills. Okay, soft skills. Are they a team player? Do they have good ethics? Well, excuse me, I don't know anybody who's going to say, "Oh, you're not a team player? I sure want to hire you." Okay, you're not ethically correct? Well, I sure want to hire you. Everybody wants those soft skills. And I don't think that in the legal field I have ever in 30 years had anybody say to me, send me somebody who's ethically incorrect. Okay, I've never had it, right? It's an assumption that you make that you're going to have those soft skills. So I think what educators have to look at is the hard skills. Really take a look at the hard skills. What do law firms need today? Okay, the worst thing that I have seen, particularly in resumes and cover letters and any other kind of writing, is the writing skills. Writing skills. I cannot believe that most of these paralegals are college graduates. I can't believe it. The grammar is terrible. Okay, the sentences are run-on sentences. The writing skills are terrible. They're just terrible. So what you're going to have to do as an educator is take a look at writing skills, technology. That's another area that the schools seem to overlook. And when I ask, why are we overlooking that? It's because we don't have the money. Okay, we don't have the money to properly prepare them. So what I'm saying is prepare these students for the real world out there and go outside the school. Let's just go outside the school. I'll tell you something, just like Apple put the computers in the schools, every one of your vendors is going to want to come to your school and teach your students how to use their software. They want to do that. Why do they want to do that? Because when the paralegal gets into the law firm, those vendors know those paralegals have buying power. They do. They have buying power or buying influence. So they're going to want to come. So what you need to do as educators, sure, you don't have the money. I get that part. Been there, done that. Not doing it again. Okay, I'm not doing that again. But you have to call on the outside community. That's what you need to do. Let's call the vendors in. Let's call the vendors in to train these paralegals. Some of the vendors, such as Relativity, have free courses that you can assign your student to take outside of the curriculum. I don't know. Do they still have extracurricular activities? Is that only for grammar school? I don't even know. Okay, I don't know. My kids are grown up. I don't even know. But I would make it a requirement. You've got to take that relativity class. Why do you have to take that relativity class if you're going to be a litigation paralegal? That's the number one program today. It may change tomorrow, but today that's the number one program. And when I get a request for a paralegal, for a litigation paralegal, I very seldom get one where an employer says to me, I don't care if they have technology skills. Okay, don't even worry if they don't have it. No, I don't get that. What I get is make sure that they know this program, that program, and this program, and it goes beyond Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Okay, those I don't even like to see those on the resume, because of course you should know that. Of course you should know that. And putting it on your resume does not sell you. Okay, what sells that paralegal are the programs that are going on today. That's what sells them. So I think as a group, as educators, we have to invite the community in, and they'll come. They will come, not out of the goodness of their heart. Don't get me wrong. Okay, they see money in it down the line. Okay, and okay, that's fine. That's fine. So I think a lot of that, in terms of, you're talking about core skills, get those technology skills up, get the writing skills up, fact finding. And another thing that we find is in the specialty areas. It used to be that schools such as UCLA was a favorite of mine, Boston U, favorite of mine. A lot of them are favorites. Okay, all of you are favorites. But the point is that they used to offer certificates in the specialties, corporate, trust and estate planning. Can't afford to do that anymore. Okay, I get that. But where are you going to get that? Where are you going to get that training? Where are you going to get that training? Okay, so that's what we have to figure out, because I can very rarely get an entry-level paralegal a job in the specialties. I can get them a job in litigation, but I can't get them a job in a specialty, because there's nobody to train in the law firm, nobody to train. So it becomes very difficult, very, very difficult.
So what I'm hearing is that, this education, continuous education, exposure to these current, technologies and programs that we're, utilizing in that space. Networking, though, like building yourself into the community as a new paralegal, seems crucial in the legal field, by way of what you were discussing of, leaning into your vendors. And I think of, local paralegal associations and how much interaction and engagement you typically have with those vendors, those outside vendors outside of the law firm that you're working with regularly. And so it really seems that the importance of networking and building that community is a priority. Are there any specific organizations or aspects of joining some specific organizations that you'd recommend for paralegals to seek or to join?
The best one is your local paralegal association. There's NALA, there's IPMA, the International Practice Management Association, of which I'm a co-founding member. And when we started that, it was there were 8 of us, 8 paralegal managers that got together around the country and said, "Hey, there has to be an organization for paralegal managers." So part of the problem is that what I found when I go to teach, and I teach content-free stuff. Okay, I teach the rah-rah. That's what I teach. Okay, how to get excited about your career, what you're going to expect out there. So, I like to see paralegals who understand what's going to happen to them, and a lot of times they don't know what's going to happen to them. Okay, they don't know, for example, how much does an entry-level paralegal get paid in your region? They don't know. They don't know. They have no clue. And some of them are going out there thinking, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to get my certificate, and I'm going to make $100,000 a year. Well, yeah, maybe in 5 years. Okay, maybe in 5 years. Oh, the way the things are going, I mean, I've got job orders up to 170 and $200,000 a year for experienced paralegals. So could happen a lot sooner than that. But my point is that we need to teach paralegal students what's going to happen to them. That's very important. How much are you expected to do? Is there overtime involved? What's practically going to go on? And that's going to come from your paralegal associations, which you should always encourage them to join. They can join things like NALA, but it's not like NALA has a chapter or things like that. You know, it's an overall type of organization. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the certifications too, because I know that's going to come up. So I'm going to beat you to the punch on this one. And that is, I have never had a request from anyone for a certified paralegal. Never. Okay. Now, let's talk about that. I think that's a disservice to the legal community because it's a 6 month study period. It's a 2.5 day exam. Half the people don't pass, or half the people don't pass a certain portion of it. So, what happens is we have a lack of marketing in the certification. Lack of marketing. What's happening is law firms don't understand what paralegals have to go through in order to get certified. And what they're mostly doing, and 9 times out of 10, here's what you'll see. They'll put an ad in the job description, and they say, "I want to certify. You must be certified as a paralegal." And they don't mean that at all because they don't even know that paralegals can be certified. What they're trying to say is, "I want a paralegal who has a certificate of completion from a school." Okay, but even the paralegals coming out of your program don't know the difference between certified and certificate. So they put on their resume they're certified paralegals. And then what happens is a paralegal sees their resume and bounces them. And they never know why they're getting bounced. And it's a simple thing. They don't know the difference between certified and certificate. So, really, what you need to do is if your instructors can't do it, bring in the paralegal community. Okay, teach them these kinds of things. That's what I talk about when I say let's teach the rah rah. Okay, because I can't teach legal research. I wouldn't know how to site check anymore if my life depended on it. But I can teach you the rah rah. Okay, and that's what we're calling the rah rah. Teach them what they're going to need to know. Okay, um, uh, before they get there. Before they get there. So certifications doesn't mean a thing. What I think that what NALA needs to do and what the paralegal community needs to do is broadcast, do campaigns, do marketing campaigns, do social media on what being certified means, because very few people understand. And the ones that do say to me, "Oh, Sherry, it's just for their own professional development." I'm just floored with that. I'm just floored with that. Who does that just for their own professional development, right?
Exactly. And I think this really goes back to the heart of not understanding and knowing what paralegals can be used for. I think it's that educational piece and that connection that you're talking about, Sharon. I think that's wonderful. And I know this about you that you're a huge proponent of internships because I know we both of us speak the same language of practical skills. We really want to embed that mindset of having practical skills in our students. And I'm wondering, for those of those of us who don't have programs that offer internships anymore, what do you think students can do to prepare themselves, or what can we as educators and program directors?
Yeah, I have an answer. I have an answer for that because when I agencies as a rule, do not handle entry level paralegals because they feel that they can get them for free. They don't have to pay 20% of the first year's salary for an entry level paralegal that they in turn have to train anyway. Okay. Um, so basically, what they need to do is you need to go to the paralegal community. And the reason why I'm hesitating is because it's very difficult. Instead of saying, "Well, we don't offer internships, so there you have it," what you need to do is go to the paralegal community And I will give you a list of overworked, underpaid senior paralegals who need some help. Okay. And that overworked, underpaid senior paralegal will be happy to have an intern work with him or her. So it doesn't have to be necessarily a program, as what we need to do is turn it around so that we get the community involved and the community takes on training these paralegals in internships. Because when I do have a request for an entry level paralegal, which happens very rarely, the firms will pick the paralegal who's had an internship 9 times out of 10 over the paralegal who did not. Now, what I hear is paralegals say to me, there's always a reason why you can't do something, right? There's always a reason why you can't lose weight, or there's always a reason why you can't do something. So they say to me, well, I don't have time. I work during the day. But here's the deal. We're now on Zoom. Okay, we're now virtual. So there's absolutely no reason why a senior level paralegal can't hook themselves up with an intern virtually. There's absolutely no reason why you can't do that. Spend an hour a day when you get home from work working on your assignment, okay, and meeting up with the senior paralegal 2 days later or whatever it takes. So there are all kinds of ways that you can do this, that you can get your paralegals trained before they get out into the field. And I think that what's lacking here is two things. One is imagination, and two is the, how do I say that? Cojones, okay, to do something about something. And those of you who don't understand that word, see Christine, she'll explain it to you. So that's what I think. That's what I think. There's a way of improving this whole thing.
Well, I love how you're kind of, touching around this proper preparation. What is it? The 7 Ps, something poor performance, proves poor planning or something along those lines. Anyhow, I love how you've touched on what some of these skills are and how you've touched on, technology rapidly transforming the legal industry. Well, I mean, every industry really, it's like a technology revolution that we're in. But what specific technology skills or technological skills do you think paralegals and paralegal educators should focus on developing so that the students and the candidates that are coming into the workforce stay relevant? And how can we ensure that they're well versed in these technologies coming out of the program?
The number one technology that everyone, I don't care who, needs to learn right now is AI. Because here's what's going to happen. It's not that difficult to learn. Okay. It really isn't. A lot of people are afraid of it. Like the legal field was afraid of computers because they thought that it was going to interfere with their billable time, right? This is old school thinking. But AI is here to stay. And here's what's going to happen if you want to ask me what's going to happen with paralegals. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. Associates are going to pick up more and more sophisticated work. Why? Because of AI. It's going to be doing their work for them. Once they get this straightened out where AI stops quoting cases that don't exist, right? Okay, so we have that. We do have a little problem here, all right? And the fellow in New York or wherever he was who got kicked out of court because he turned in a brief that had 3 cases that didn't exist, right? Didn't have his paralegal site check, right? Okay, that's what happened. You want to talk about underutilization? Didn't have his or her, I think it was a him, paralegal site check. But AI is going to, what's going to happen is it's going to be a domino effect in that associates are going to increase the level of assignment that they're going to be able to do because of AI. What happens then? Okay, so they pick up a higher level of assignment. That means that they're delegating down the lower level of assignments. Who are they going to delegate to? The paralegal, right? So the paralegal is going to be able to pick up a higher level of assignment. That's what's going to happen with AI as soon as they figure this part out where they stop giving the cases and things that don't exist, right? So what we're going to see in the future is paralegals who are doing things that we never, ever thought would happen. We never, ever thought that they would be doing this kind of sophisticated work, which means that the educators have to be on the ball now, okay, looking out for the future as to what paralegals can eventually do. Because those paralegals should be coming back to your school to take graduate courses. That's what should be going on, okay?
Or to teach the future paralegals, right?
Yeah, but what's going on now is the paralegals have to go to now maybe a webinar or, and I give webinars, I give seminars, I have a whole company that 500 instructors around the country that do that. But what I'm saying is that the only place that paralegals now can get continuing education, like a master's degree, okay, is to take webinars here and there. All right. That is not continuous education. What they need to do, and I think that George Washington University, but they need to get a master's degree. All right. They need to get a PhD in paralegal. That's what they need to do, because that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is AI is going to push this thing to a point where the paralegals will not be able to cope because they don't have the right education. So you educators looking to make more money, put yourself in a program, okay, for a graduate program for paralegals, and they'll come. You know, with that whole thing, if they build it, they will come, right? I bet you 25 cents. I don't give any more than 25 cents, but I'm going to bet you 25 cents that if you do that, you're going to be in a much better situation.
I love this framework, Sherry, of this prognosticator of the paralegal profession. I love it. And those are some really excellent thoughts because, as Kelly had pointed out, technology is rapidly advancing and changing almost like on a daily basis. And, I kind of want to go down this path further about on technology, but more specifically on e-discovery. And you had mentioned litigation support and having these positions that you're recruiting for that are in the high 100,000s up to $200,000. I'm assuming these are technologically proficient professionals.
Not only technology. Look, I have a position right now for a senior corporate level paralegal in finance, okay, bonds, finance, very sophisticated. That'll start at 170,000. Now, you still have to pay that overtime to paralegals, right? That didn't go away. So figure it out. 170,000 as a base plus overtime plus a bonus, all right? You can buy a house in Los Angeles for that. you can you can really buy a house in Los Angeles for that.
Absolutely. I'm wanting to kind of hone in a little bit on some of the e-discovery and litigation support because I know I have folks in my network who are in that scale, that pay scale, and they are, they have certain certifications in e-discovery. And I just wanted to get your thoughts because you talked about, NALA's certification for their certified paralegal exam and having, maybe doing more education and marketing behind that. But what about these technology kind of things for e-discovery?
All right, here's the deal on that. I was my husband and I formed a company, Paralegal Knowledge Institute, and we hooked up with Prentice, okay, Prentice Hall, one of the biggest publishers in the world, and we created the first e-discovery certification exam. And then another company came along that had a whole lot more money than we did and beat the pants off us. So that's okay. I don't mind the competition, okay? But the point is that I have never, ever had a request from an employer that said, send me somebody who's certified in e-discovery. Never. Okay. And I handle law firms all over the country, even different parts of the world. Okay. Um, so it's not that they want somebody certified in e-discovery, which is going to take on a different form, by the way. We're going to be calling e-discovery something else. I don't know what that is, but it's going to evolve like everything else. It will evolve. So I don't know that being certified in e-discovery, which is a good thing. Believe me, I put a lot of money into that. Okay, so it's not that, but I don't know that that's where it really rests. I don't think so. Okay, we're not getting the request from the law firms to send me somebody certified in e-discovery. Again, it's like the paralegal who's certified. It's a nice thing to have, but it's not a request in the job description. Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't have it, and I'm not knocking it. Please don't take this out of context. I think that every bit of education that you can have benefits you, no matter what. No matter what. I don't care what it is. Every bit of education, but it's not being required. It's not being recognized. Okay. And a lot of the people learn what you take the test for on the job. That's where you learn it. All right. A lot of this is learn on the job. And the problem with learning on the job, and why I'm coming back to the educators and saying you have to put in these programs, is because you're only as good as your trainer. So you have somebody, let's say you walk into a room, okay, I'm a 10, you're a 10, everybody in this room is a 10, okay? And you're going to teach the next person in line, but that person is a 9. Now that person gets to train. So what happens? I'm a 9, you're a 9, everybody in the room is a 9. So what happens? They teach an 8. The 8 goes out. Okay, do you get where I'm going with this? Teaches everybody, and then that person is a 7. So it's it it has to be done by professional trainers. You leave a lot to luck, okay, by being trained on the job. You really do, because people who train on the job are not professional trainers for the most part. So this is why I think that we have to be very careful, put in new programs from the schools to get those paralegals, those seasoned paralegals back, okay, to learn more. And I also think what's going to happen in the future is this will be like the nursing profession. And it's taking a long time because paralegals have not been around that long. What, 1968, 1970, somewhere around there? So what I think is going to happen is that the paralegal profession is going to break up just like the nursing profession. So what do you have? You have a nurse's aide, right? Okay, then you have a certified nurse's aide. In every state it's different. Then you have the RN, okay? Then you have the physician's assistant, right? Who's almost like a doctor. That's the way the paralegal field should go, just like that. Because now what I'm getting is I'm getting requests. Well, give me a 5-year, give me a 10-year paralegal, somebody with 10 years of experience, because that's what I want. Because the assumption is after 10 years you should be knowing this, this, and that. That doesn't happen. Why? Because these paralegals are being trained on the job by people who don't know how to train. So what happens is you'll get a 10-year litigation paralegal who's bait stamping and summarizing depositions. They're working at the level of the first and the second year paralegal. So what's going to happen is firms are going to find out that they can no longer ask for a paralegal by years of experience. It's going to have to be by their skill level. Okay, what do you know? Right? And that's the direction we should be headed. We should start be breaking up this field into levels, okay? So that also, again, let's go back to my point that paralegals are above average in intelligence. They want to move up. Most of them don't want to just suit up and show up 9 to 5. Most of them. And if you do, that's okay. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I'm not here to judge. But the point is that most of them don't because of the intelligence level. So let's give them something to work for. As I said earlier, they ain't ever going to make partner. Okay, not going to happen. All right. Or the only other place for them to go is to like transfer out of the paralegal department into HR or marketing or something like that, which is fine. But we don't want to lose our senior level paralegals.
Well, and I love how you made that analogy earlier about, look at what paralegals are doing and what we can be doing, the capabilities of them. And historically speaking, paralegals were starting out manually bait stamping and organizing documents and all of those things. And as the acknowledgement of skill sets and capabilities and intelligent levels expanded, uh, we start to see the opportunities open up for paralegals to really grow. But we also see that entails some sort of technical or hard skill that they're building, right? Whether it's e-discovery. I mean, nobody ever thought that paralegals were going to be project managers for the e-discovery department of, international law firms. And that's what's happening. And, trial technologies, these technologies that the attorneys didn't have time, or the interest to learn, paralegals are learning them. So, I love how you're kind of, it's this spinning world that like you got to catch where you want to go and then explore it to all of it. So let's just shift gears a little bit. Can you discuss some of those common, let's say, career pitfalls that you're seeing paralegals and new paralegals, new legal professionals face when they're starting out, and how can educators help these new paralegals avoid these pitfalls?
First of all, you have to make sure that the paralegals are motivated. That's behind everything. Motivation. If they're not motivated, you're not going to get anywhere with them. Nowhere. Okay. They just see it as a job. They could be a typist at the DMV or something. Um, and there are people that do that. And again, there are people that don't put the emphasis on the career, and that's okay. All right.
What skills can paralegals build to avoid some of these common mistakes when they start out into the industry?
The common mistake is nobody can tell me what they want. When I hold a seminar or I hold a webinar and I say to you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? The old question. And they'll tell me where they don't want to be. I don't want to be in litigation. I don't want to be in a large firm. I don't want to. So we have the don't list that comes out. Very few paralegals can tell me in 5 years I want to be legal operations in an in-house Fortune 500 corporation. That's where I'm going. And then when I hear that, I'll say to them, how are you going to get there? And they don't know. They don't know. They don't have a clue. All right. It's kind of like in Hollywood, I want to be an actress or an actor, right? How are you going to get there? I don't know. Okay. I don't know. And I hear the same thing over and over again from paralegals. No direction. There's no direction. Now, an entry level paralegal hasn't a clue what they want to be. They don't know if they want to be in litigation. They want to be in corporate. They don't know. Okay. How could they know, right? They just had all this handed to them and they want to choose. And most of the time they fall into the job. It's whoever hires them first. And that says it for the rest of their career, right? But people don't know not only where they want to go, but how to get there. And that's what we have to teach them. If you want to be, and I'm seeing a lot of paralegals become legal ops managers, legal operations managers. It's a great career because what you do is you pull everything together: technology, HR, working with the vendors, purchasing, managing workflow. You pull everything together in legal operations. Very exciting career, and it pays a lot of money. Okay, it pays a lot of money. I have jobs for legal operations at $300,000 a year. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. Okay, where did I miss that? I don't know. Where did I miss that? But they don't know what's available to them. Okay, they haven't explored the field enough to know, yeah, that's what I want to aim for. Or even, I want to be a trial paralegal. You have to work your way up to be a trial paralegal. You can't just start out date stamping and then the next day you're preparing the war room and now you're sitting at the table with the attorney. It's not going to happen, right? Okay, it's just not going to happen. So one of the biggest mistakes we're making as members of the field is we're not teaching people how to meet their goals or how to even define their goals, because it's not the same as like in the corporate world. Okay, oh, I'm going to start out as a secretary, and then I'm going to move up to manager of the department, and then I'm going to move up to VP, and then senior VP, and then one day I'm going to be the CEO. Okay, that's not it in the paralegal field. We don't have that. We don't have that. So how do you move up a non-existent ladder? That's what we have to figure out. Okay, and there's all kinds of ways of doing it, all kinds of acknowledgement that you have to get to be acknowledged for doing a good job. It's more than a bonus in your paycheck at holiday time, right? And then that goes away in 3 months. You forget why you got that bonus. Okay, and as you start to get kind of ticked off at things that are going on. But that's what's missing. That's definitely what's missing is no knowledge of where they can be and how to get there. That's one of their biggest problems.
And Sherry, we talked about this because, we talk about, well, I shared with you that I require my introduction to law students to conduct informational interviews, especially with senior paralegals, just so they can get an idea of what that looks like. And I love how you're talking about these pathways and setting goals and, kind of being a project manager and milestoning that. How do I get there? How do I achieve those goals? And we had talked about this concept of advisory boards, right, for paralegal programs to help their content and curriculum. But you had said something specifically about a board of advisors for yourself as an individual.
I had that. I'll tell you something. It started out in litigation support, and it was a group of men and women. Okay. We got together once a month on a Sunday, and we went to really nice restaurants where we could spend a lot of money and have champagne. And I mean, we really did it up. But it was a board of directors, is what I called it then. Now we can call it a board of advisors. I called it a board of directors because they were directing me in my career. All right, so that's why I called it that. But board of advisors is fine. Everybody should form one. I formed one. Listen, I went from a I went from the theater very briefly. I went from the theater. I was on the road with the production show. Okay, I was producing and directing it, which is why I'm an entrepreneur now. I should have figured that out a long time ago. I wanted to get off the road. Okay, I was in Seattle. I was driving down the street. It was Christmas time. I saw all these Christmas trees in these homes, and I thought, I'm just on the road. I don't have a Christmas tree in my house. Okay. So I opened up the Seattle Times. I saw a job for a paralegal. I went and applied, and the administrator just happened to have seen one of my shows. And so he hired me. This is a true story. Okay. I didn't know anything about being a paralegal, nothing. So I went out and I bought a book called The Legal Secretary's Handbook. It was 364 pages. I read every page. And then I had a secretary who sat next to me who taught me how to be a paralegal. And then I got my own office, okay, with a window and everything. And I went from there I moved down to Los Angeles. I saw where there was a group. I went to an entertainment, very, very high profile entertainment law firm. I saw they had paralegals running around and nobody was managing anything. So I appointed myself as the paralegal manager and I did a paper and I said, this is why you need a paralegal manager and this is why I'm qualified. I wasn't qualified. I didn't know anything. I really didn't. I didn't know nothing from nothing, but I figured I could do the job, right? You know, it was kind of like in the theater. You don't know how to do a time step. You go home and you learn it and you come back the next day. And I went from being a paralegal administrator, starting the IPMA with a group of other fabulous people. And then I decided I'm really an entrepreneur. That's really what I want to do. I want to find paralegals jobs. That's what I wanted to do. I opened up my first agency on $2,000. It's a true story. And I built it into 5 million in 2.5 years. And I sold it to a $5 billion company. I reported directly to the CEO of a $5 billion company, ran offices all over the United States, and hated it. And I hated it. I had a Mercedes in the garage. I had a house in Pacific Palisades. And most of all, I had a credit card to Neiman Marcus. Okay, so I was doing good. Hated it. Hated it. I just can't work for somebody. I'm just not that type, which is what I'm trying to say. Know yourself. Know what your goals are. And my goal was to be a successful entrepreneur in the legal field. That was my goal. And so I came out of that and I opened up again my own agency, and here I am. Okay. And also, wonderful things can happen to you. I was just interviewed by the Wall Street Journal for the second time the other day. I've been on CBS News. I've been in Forbes magazine. I've been in Fortune magazine. I'm just a little paralegal from Seattle who didn't know anything but to read her 364-page legal secretary book. So what I'm saying to all of you is that everybody has their idea of what success is. Your success could be the best trial paralegal in the firm, and that's your success, and that's fabulous. Okay, that's fabulous. But this paralegal field can take you really, really far. You really can go.
I wholeheartedly agree. And as someone who's shaped the future of legal staffing and training and been through it yourself, right? I mean, let's take out our crystal balls for a moment. So now you're also going to take on the role of psychic for us here. Um, what are your predictions for the future of legal staffing? And so, how can paralegals and legal professionals prepare themselves to stay ahead in their careers?
Well, first of all, you have to know where you want to go, like I said. Okay. Second of all, some of you have to take on the responsibility of shaping the career. Okay. It can't just happen to you. You have to drive your career. Everybody has to drive their career, but certain people are going to have to step out of it and shape it. All right. Just like in California, we now have to have a BA and a certificate in order to be a paralegal. What I thought that was the greatest thing that ever happened. Why? Because it said that people have to have certain amount of education in order to be a paralegal. Somebody and a group of people, and some of us know them and some of us don't, stepped out of the norm and said, hey, this is what we need. And that's what I predict for the paralegal future is that some of us are going to have to step out and lead the charge. And that's really what we need. That's where I see it going. What does it look like? I've given you a few ideas, okay, of what I think it could look like. Some people are going to call me up after this and say, what are you, nuts? They're going to say that, okay, or they're going to write, or what I usually get is they write these big, huge articles that say why Sherry Estrin is wrong. Okay. And that's okay. I don't mind being wrong. I really don't. I don't mind being wrong as long as you get together and decide on what it is going to look like. That's what I'm after. That's what I'm after. So I don't know. I can't predict everything, but this is based on my experience. After all, I'm a woman of a certain age, and this is what I think. This is what I think. I think there are no. I think before we used to think there were limits in the career. We really did. It was a dead end career. It used to be called a dead end career. It is no longer a dead end career. No, that's just not it. So very exciting things. I think very exciting things. And I'd love to hear from the educators. I'd love to hear from the students. I'd love to hear from seasoned paralegals. Where do you think this is going to go? Write to me, Sherry at EstrinLegalStaffing.com. Okay. Let me know and I'll put it in my blog. I'll be happy to interview you. I'd love to know the thoughts out there.
You have just given us such great food for thought as paralegal educators, program directors, people who impact and influence future paralegals. And kind of winding down our conversation, Sherry, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom with us and all of your years of experience and what you're even seeing present day. And I'm thinking about like how, pearls of wisdom really that you would give to educators who have that kind of impact and influence on these future legal professionals. How can we, or what do you think we should do in order to advise our students to architect these long-term careers filled with success and, like you said, evolution, and really crafting a career that they really want? And you said something that really hit me, and it was know thyself, right? Know what you want and know what you want out of this. I think that's really important. But what other pearls of wisdom would you share?
And we all know what we don't want. When I got into the corporate world, and again, there was nobody reporting between. I didn't report to anybody but the CEO of a $5 billion company, and I thought that's what I wanted, and I hated it. I cannot tell you. I mean, it's good for a lot of people, right? Okay, I'm not saying it's not. It's just not good for me. All right. So I learned a good lesson there. I learned a huge lesson and I learned that boy, having all that money and the fancy schmancy house and the car and everything didn't mean a thing because I was crying in the shower every morning. So you really need to know what makes you happy. You have to get up in the morning and love it. You have to get up in the morning and just love it. And as long as you're true to yourself and you're not afraid to explore, right? Have to, and if you fall on your tushy, you fall on your tushy, you'll get up. You'll get up. I guarantee it. I've been there many times. Okay, many times. Did it hurt? Yeah, it did hurt. But I got up, and I think everybody else will get up. But go out there. Don't be afraid. The most important thing that I can say to educators is stay excited. Stay excited. If you're excited, your students will be excited because that's the nature of excitement, and they'll pick it up from you. And what more can we ask for?
I love that, Sherry. Thank you for your pearls of wisdom today. I can honestly say you have been a joy learning from and hearing your story and incredible insights. The expertise that you shared with us about legal staffing, career development, and how legal educators can really enhance, our future workforce it's been inspiring. And I think our listeners are going to benefit greatly from the advice that you've given us today. To our listeners, we appreciate you joining us for this episode of AFP's Legal Luminaries. We hope you enjoy our conversation today, and we hope that it sparked curiosity and interest in improving educational programming and the resulting impact on the legal profession. For those eager to explore more, we've included relevant links in the show notes below. A special thank you and acknowledgement to Doug Lusk of the National Society for Legal Technology for their invaluable contributions to the post-production of this podcast. And as we wrap up, we'd like to leave you with a thought-provoking question. If you had 20 minutes to interview anyone, who would you choose to speak with? We encourage you to share your thoughts and suggestions with us. And thank you once again. We look forward to having you with us on the next episode of AFB's Legal Luminaries. Until then, keep forging those connections and building these lasting relationships. Goodbye for now.